Hey guys, welcome to ASM Education. This is our series on consulting. We are doing a book review of the consulting book, The McKinsey Way. I hope you've seen the previous videos. Without them, understanding these videos will be a slightly difficult. If you're new to this channel, just go and see those videos. I ensure you will find some value addition, and you will have continuity if you watch these videos. So moving on. Now we are done with the part one of the book. Now we are going to do part two of the book. What does the part two of the book deal with? The McKinsey way of working to solve business problems. So in this part two, we will see how the firm implements its problem-solving model on a day-to-day basis. So in part one, we saw that this is the model, this is the hypothesis, this is the approach that the firm follows. But how does it actually apply it on a day-to-day basis? We will go through a McKinsey engagement in a chronological order. Chronological order, matlab from where does it start till the point where it ends. So it starts with selling, then how the selling process, progressing to organizing the team, conducting the research, and brainstorming. So so as we discussed, we'll go chronologically. So let's start with the fourth chapter. This video is going to be on the fourth chapter. For the fifth, sixth, and onwards, there will be separate videos. So let's start with selling a study. So for example, if you're a guy who loves marketing, then you will really enjoy this chapter, because this tells how McKinsey gets more business without actually selling. What are the strategies it applies to increase its business? So without further ado, let's proceed. So the selling process at McKinsey differs from that of most organizations, because as any McKinseyite will tell you, the firm doesn't sell. What? The firm doesn't sell, but it's still growing. So that's what the author says, but it certainly brings in a continuing and growing volume of business. How the hell is this possible if the firm is not selling? So let's see. The author says how to sell without selling. So he compares business problems to mice. He'll say that the mice, they go unnoticed until they start nibbling your cheese. So what's the solution? Build a better mousetrap? Yes, they will help get rid of the existing mice, but it'll not help you grow drastically. So what he says is, just building a better mousetrap will not make the world beat a path to your door. People who don't have mice won't be interested until the mice show up. So maybe you will interest the people whose businesses have mice, but will not interest the people who business people who don't have the problems. So how do we go there? How do you increase the business? How do you be the first one to go to a person who has just found out that his business has a problem? So what the author says is, just be there at the right time and make sure the right people know who you are. So this is a principle by which all McKinseyites live by. So now let's just go back and see from where does this culture come that we will not sell. So this curious aspect of McKinsey culture stems from the roots of the firm's founders in white shoe law and accounting firms before the World War II. In those days, it was considered beneath the dignity of a professional service firm to advertise or solicit its business, or advertise its business or solicit businesses. Times have changed, but the no selling legacy persists at McKinsey because it works very well in the consulting business. You will not find a single McKinsey director who's making cold calls at the offices of, say, Mr. Bill Gates or, say, Ted Turner, asking if they have any problems which they want to get solved. No, the firm does not run ads in Forbes or Barron's Advertising anywhere. Although, and here I'll tell you, the compensation of the partner depends in large amount of the in amount of the business he brings to the firm. But still, no one goes to knock on doors. The firm waits for the phone to ring, and ring it does. Not because McKinsey sells, but because McKinsey markets. So that's the answer to a question. How can it sell without selling? It sells without selling because it markets. It does this in several different ways, all of them designed to make sure that on the day a senior executive decides she has a problem, the first call she's going to make is to the McKinsey office, the local McKinsey office. The firm produces a steady stream of books and articles, extremely, and some of them are extremely famous, such as In Search of Excellence. So if you're going to apply, say, to McKinsey, you should know all these journals and publications that they have. Then the author goes on to say that it publishes its own scholarly journal, the McKinsey Quarterly, which it sends to its clients and also to its former consultants. Now what happens is, a lot of former consultants at McKinsey are now occupying senior positions and are now potential clients. The firms invites a lot of coverage by journalists And the journalists are also very excited to cover McKinsey. McKinsey partners are also internationally known and internationally known experts in their fields. For example, Kenichi Ohme. Go, if you don't know who he is, just go and Google him. He's a very, very famous person. He's the god of management. So McKinsey also has a vast network of informal contacts with potential clients. It encourages its partners to. So how will it have informal contact? So it encourages its partners to participate in extracurricular activities such as sitting on the board of chairs, museum and cultural organizations. Also, these guys attend industry conferences. Also, they occasionally meet up with former clients, and this serves two purposes. They check whether the such strategies that they've applied at previous places are working, and secondly, it helps to maintain an ongoing relationship. And if this former client has a new business problem, he will come to McKinsey first. Uh, so these efforts cannot be construed as selling, but they make sure that the right people know that the firm is there. So how do you contact existing and potential clients and customers? Trade shows and conferences, and sometimes even the right bars will give you the chance to know who will give them the chance to know who you are. And for example, if there's a trade journal, please write a good article and it'll get published, and those people who you might have never thought will know you will start knowing you. Also, be close to your competitors, know what they are doing, meet them. So by chance, if a competitor changes jobs, he could be a potential customer or an employee. Also, now moving on to, once you've decided who to sell and once they are you're at an onboarding stage, what do you have to promise? You'll have to make some promises, make some commitments. So the author talks about those things. He says, be careful about what you promise while structuring an engagement. So he says, whether you're selling your services as a consultant or have been picked by your or organization to solve an internal problem, don't bite off more than you can chew. And this he has repeated again and again: don't bite off more than what you can chew. He said, set definite milestones that you can meet. He is not saying set milestones randomly, he's saying set milestones which you can meet. When clients come to McKinsey with a problem, they want it fixed yesterday and for nothing. That is, they want it to be done as soon as possible and for as cheap as possible. So when restructuring an engagement, McKinsey usually faces a lot of pressure to deliver the maximum results in the minimum time. So who from McKinsey sets up the deals? Either it's the DCS or the ED. We've read about the ED. Now let's just see who the DCS is. Director of Client Services, aka the director. The DCS is in charge of the overall relationship with the client. Directors have a larger stake in the firm than mere partners. The DCS is the highest rung of the McKinsey hierarchy. So he's the highest person in the hierarchy. Uh, Also, so McKinsey bills by the hour, and those hours do not come cheap. Okay, the ED stands between the client and its demands. On one side, the client will want it to be done as soon as possible for as cheap as possible, and the engagement team on the other, who will have certain limitations and who may not be able to finish it in a certain span of time, and who you have to pay salary. So there's this balancing out has to be done. The challenge for the ED is to balance the desires and budget constraints of the client with the limits of the team. So this part of the chapter will show you what a good leader is, what a good director is. If you want to be a director at one of the consulting firms, these are the things that you have to start incorporating in your life from now. The challenge for the ED is to balance the desires and budget constraints of the client with the limits of the team. Ideal synthesis of these two opposing forces is a project that a team of 4 to 6 consultants can complete in 3 to 6 months, and that will produce tangible results for the client. As the firm spends time within a client organization, it almost uncovers new problems that could benefit from McKinsey's expertise. So what the author is trying to say is here that when you're working with a client, you say you're working on problem X. While working, you also find out that there are problem Y, Z, A, B, C. So now what happens once you're done with engagement X, you go and the client is happy with you. You also tell the client that, sir, you have these problems Y, Z, A, B, C. You'd like to, and we think that if you solve these, your business could do even better. So now what is happening is the existing client is giving you more business, and you don't have to put in a lot of sales marketing effort for this. Plus, a business that is existing is generating more business for you. Uh, okay, so now how do the this is a very good characteristic trait that he's talking about good EDs. What do? They tell the clients that we are going to do X and Y, but we could do Z, but that's going to kill the team. Okay, so this is what he promises the client. And when he's speaking to the team, he says, guys, I've promised Z to the client and we have to do this. So this pushes the team to its limit, and this also tells the client that he's getting value for his money, that it is not so easy for the firm to do what it's doing. Certain EDs have a okay, so now this is what certain EDs do. They overpromise to onboard the client, but what happens is they exaggerate and are not able to deliver. Also, there are EDs who are very vague about the exact nature of the end product of a study, and leave it to the team to figure out just what it is, and this causes problems. And this okay, so you should, when if you're at McKinsey and if you have a choice, try to avoid such EDs. uh, so now we'll come to the crux of how you should proceed when you have a problem. So the author says, get a feel for the scope of the problem, understand the scope of the problem. Is it something you and your team can solve in the time allotted? If you think the time allotted is wrong, then no. If not, either get more time, or even better, sit down with your boss, break the problem down into bite-sized chunks. So break the problem into a lot of chunks. Like for example, we had seen earlier also, the drivers of the problem, go and find the key drivers. Okay, figure out what the end product of each chunk will be. So now for each chunk, find what the end product is, whether the client wants a recommendation, or whether he wants an implementation plan, or whether he wants a new product design. What does he want? Just try to figure that out. Figure out how much resources you will need. Okay, so these are the things you should think about when you're starting a project. Do all this ahead of time and it'll save you a lot of time in the end. Otherwise, in the end, if you're unplanned at the beginning, then it's going to cost you a lot in the end. Structuring your project properly at the beginning may not guarantee you success, but it at least gets you off to the right start. Okay, so this is the basic structure. Now we are done with the fourth chapter of this book. This was also a very good chapter which added a lot of value addition on you should how the firm sells without selling, and how not to overpromise to the client, and how you can push the team to its maximum potential. So I hope you like this video. That's all for the day, guys. Thank you. Keep learning, keep enjoying. Please like, share, and subscribe. Goodbye.